So my research was on humanitarians. I used to be a humanitarian in war zones. So I was hoping to research PTSD on humanitarians when they returned from these scary places like Afghanistan and Iraq, etc. And totally failed. They weren't traumatized. They didn't talk in terms of PTSD. They talked about some things was scary, and the most tricky thing was actually coming home. So I did a deeper dive into it, desperately trying to save my doctoral research, and I found out that suffering is quite human, as we all know. And that's in every culture, all through history. But the delineation of like suffering to trauma, PTSD, that's something very new. Kind of comes somewhere from Freud and then marketed by Van der Kolk, etc., to create this rigorous thing. And so what my chapter actually become, and what much of my doctoral part of my doctoral research, and this chapter in this book is what happens when you inscribe yourself with trauma, when you label yourself as traumatized, or someone else labels you as traumatized, right? What happens with that suffering that then becomes a thing and reified as this thing and has all these medical supposed research around it. And I guess to summarize what the chapter comes up with is that it creates three things. It creates a vulnerability, right? I'm going through life, things are happening to me. I am currently in the army, and you see things and you go, oh my God, I might get traumatized. And this is something that the humanitarians talked about as well. Oops, I'm scared of getting this, of catching this, right? So instead of being resilient to even the next level, which is anti-fragile, that thing of growing through adversity, you are more vulnerable. That's one possibility. The other possibility is stuckness. You get stuck in this story, so whether you get it, this trauma or not, but if you now think that you have it and you're working with someone and you feel that it just gets worse, you can't get out of it because this is your life. This is who you are. And finally, a different group, those of us, all of us that suffer and that we want to have an identity, we want to have a reason for why we do all these crazy things and why we have all these preferences and why we always get into trouble and always have these perhaps unfulfilling relationships. And that is the subcategory of clients who are looking for the answer in terms of what was it that happened. Van der Kolk talks a lot about that, some trauma that can be recovered, that you can kind of remember, and then you realize it was all because of that. And that's it's not you, it's that over there. So you relinquish your freedom, you blame that as opposed to taking care of yourself. So what my trauma ends on then is, what my chapter ends on is, how do you work with that? How do I take in your story, which is perhaps that you are traumatized, and totally believe it, totally hear it, yet start to look at the edges, when there is a bit of freedom, when you can have a bit of choice, when you can have a bit of growth, and this ceases to be this determining reason for everything in your life. And yeah, that's what I wrote about. Thank you.